everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I thin my hair with thinning shears. My hair is very thick and heavy. It's so thick that when I wear my hair in a ponytail for a long time, it actually gives me a headache. I also live in Hawaii where the weather is pretty warm all year round, so I like to thin my hair out to keep it cool and light. These are the thinning shears I use. I bought them from Amazon. They were less than $20. You can also get these at other stores like Walmart or Target. The ones I bought also came with this comb. When you're using thinning shears, it's important to make sure the teeth are on top. If you cut your hair with the blade on top, it will just cut off all your hair instead of cutting in indents. You also want to make sure to cut using the middle to front part of the scissors. If you cut up to the end of the blade, you may actually cut off more than you want. It's better to be conservative with these. Here is what my hair looks like before thinning. We're going to work in halves, so the first step is to tie up half of your hair for later. Now for the first half, we're going to section off a 2-inch layer from the bottom. We're not going to touch this layer because it's going to serve as a foundation to hide any choppiness. I'm going to tie it away so it doesn't get in the way. Next, I'm going to brush out the leftover hair and take out another 2-inch layer from the bottom. This is a layer that we're going to cut. I'm going to pin up the remaining hair to keep it out of the way. I'm going to brush out this section so there's no knots. And it's kind of a wide layer, so I'm going to work in 2 parts. You want to make sure you start cutting from several inches below the nape of your neck. That way the shorter pieces blend in with the rest of your hair. I also want to make sure that I can still wear my hair up without pieces sticking out. Remember, you want the teeth to be on top. I'm going to start cutting about 5 to 6 inches from the nape of my neck and cut in even 1 to 2 inch intervals. And this is how much came off. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other half, cutting in the same intervals. As you might have noticed, I'm cutting the same number of times for each section of hair. Wow, look at all this weight coming off. Now that I'm done with this section, I'm going to add it to the back. I'm just tying it all up so it doesn't get in the way of my cutting. I'm going to take down the remaining hair and section off another layer. This is another layer that we won't cut, so it can cover up any choppiness. Since I'm getting closer to my face, I'm also going to section off my fringe since I don't want to cut any of that off. Pin up the hair so it's out of the way. Then I'm going to add this bottom layer to the back. Next, I'm going to section off another layer and pin up the excess. I'm going to brush out any knots. Once again, don't forget to keep the teeth on top. Then I'm going to cut 5 to 6 inches from the nape of my neck and cut in the same 1 to 2 inch intervals as last time. When I reach the bottom, I kind of run my scissors through the ends of my hair to pull out all the strands that I cut. It's so satisfying to see how much comes off. I'm going to brush through this section again to make sure I get out all of the hair that I cut off. Alright, this is done, so I'm going to add it to the back. Next, I'm taking out the top layer. I was wondering if I had enough hair left to cut another layer, but after looking at it, I decided that I didn't want any hair to stick up at the top, so I just kept the top layer as is. So the first half is done. Now on to the next half. Alright, you know the drill by this point. I'm going to brush out any knots and section off a base layer that I won't touch. And then I'm adding it to the other half, which is already finished. Then I'm going to section off a layer that I will cut and pin up the excess. I took out a wide layer again, so I did this part in halves. Once again, make sure to start cutting 5 to 6 inches from the nape of the neck and in the same 1 to 2 inch intervals as the other times. This is important to get even layers. Now I'm going to repeat this process with the rest of my hair. I'm taking down the top layer and sectioning off a 2-inch layer again. Since I'm getting close to my face, I'm taking my fringe down as well. This is a layer that I'm not going to touch. Then I'm going to pin up the excess and add the bottom layer to the finished section. Once again, I'm taking down my hair, sectioning off a 2-inch layer that I am going to cut, and pinning up the excess. I'm going to brush it out to make sure there's no knots, and since I took a wide layer again, I'm going to do this part in 2 halves. Lots of weight is coming off. Now onto the second half, cutting in the same intervals. Now that I'm done with this section, I'm going to add it to the finished hair, and I'm going to do this process all over again. I'm taking out another layer that I'm not going to touch and pinning up the excess. And of course, adding it to the finished section. We're almost done. I'm sectioning off the last layer that I'm going to cut and pinning up the excess. Brushing it through to remove any knots, and then I'm just cutting the last section. I'm taking everything out and brushing it through to get rid of any lingering hair. As you can see, my hair is the same length, but it is now thinner, smoother, and lighter. This whole process took about 20 minutes, and I tried to do this every couple of months to keep my hair nice and light and cool. As you can see, here's all the hair that I cut off. It's like a small animal. And here is the before and after comparison. And that's it! I linked the thinning shear set that I bought from Amazon down below. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Bye!